This is Top Shelf, the KIJHL podcast, our 90th episode. I'm Mark Berry.
And I'm Emanuel Sequeira.
This week on Top Shelf, our ine+nutrition Players Spotlight shines on Carter Price, captain of the Grand Forks Border Bruins. Emanuel talks with Creston Valley Thunder Cat alum Harmon Laser-Hume. He's with the Mount Royal University Cougars, who are off to the USports National Championship Tournament next week. We're also joined by broadcasters Blake Mills with the Kamloops Storm and Ben Phillips with the Beaver Valley Nitehawks.
Mark, yeah, it's great to be here, man.
Thanks for having me, Mark. Yeah, it's great to be here.
We'll be joining you guys a little bit later on. Every Wednesday on the KIJHL.ca website, Emanuel puts together an article on KIJHL alum. This week, he talks with former Thunder Cat Harmon Laser-Hume, who plays for the USports Mount Royal University in Calgary. As a freshman, he got into 2 games this season, recording a shutout in February. MRU is heading to the National University Cup next week in Ottawa. Emanuel asked Harmon about his time with Creston Valley and how it helped him step up to higher levels.
I think the biggest thing for me was being part of a junior team at 17, because obviously I could have taken that last year and played at OHA or something again for another year and have your whole schedule laid out for you and pretty much everything done for you. But I think being around older guys was super helpful for me, and just seeing what a junior schedule was like. Obviously my first year got shut down pretty quick, but we still practiced with our team every day, and it was fun. Like it built me up. I think I took a step forward, and I think more young goaltenders should look at that as a valid option into stepping into the next level, is going into the KI. And obviously being known now in junior A, it's a very valid option to go into. It is a good league. I had a great time there. I think I had a really good goalie partner there in Jaden Little. He was super fun to be around, and he was the first one to teach me, like, it's okay to be light at the rink. You don't have to be super serious all the time. And I remember him and I playing ping pong before practice and stuff. It was like, you can enjoy this. It doesn't have to be super serious all the time. It was fun. Like, it's a good league to play in, right? Like, you got super nice places. You get good drives. Like, I know lots of guys complain about going on the bus, but at least in the KI, you get to see some pretty scenic views compared to being out in Sask. But it's a really good time to be in that league. I didn't spend too much time in my 18-year-old year. I think I had 7 or 8 games or something like that before I headed up to Nipawin. But just in that time, we had a really tight group in Creston, because most of us went through COVID together. It was fun. Like, the guys were good. Like, it's high level.
Harmon Laser-Hume played just 8 games with the then Junior B Thundercats before moving on to Nipawin and then Flin Flon, where his numbers were impressive. In 112 total games, his record was 74-26-7 with a .922 save percentage as a Bomber. Carter Price, captain of the Grand Forks Border Bruins, is our ine+nutrition Player Spotlight. Emanuel asked him about the first-round series with Castlegar.
We played a good 4 games of hockey, but it wasn't our best by any means, and I feel like we have room to grow. And so we want to take all those games moving forward, the lessons we learned, and use them against Beaver Valley, and hopefully more series going on later into the playoffs.
What were some of the lessons that you guys feel that you learned from that series?
Just to play a complete 60, right, and to not get complacent. I felt that lots of times we were ahead of the lead in the game, and a lapse, 5-minute lull or something, and they'd score 2 quick ones, something like that. We know that going down the line, we're going to have to be cleaner on a few things like that. So stuff like that. Discipline, another lesson we have to learn. So a few games got away with us on penalties, but I think that we've regrouped as a team and talked about those things. And I think that we're looking to fix some of that coming up against Beaver Valley.
What did the group like about the way that it played against Castlegar that it wants to build on?
I think a few things that we liked playing against Castlegar was our intensity, our will, especially driven by a lot of our forward lines and our forward checking. Our forward checking really drove that. I think that we really like that, working pucks in their end, something like that. That kind of shifts the momentum to us and gets us in a groove and gets us in a rhythm. So I think that moving forward, that's something that we need to focus on. That'll drive our energy for sure.
Edwards back to Holland. To Edwards. Edwards will fire the shot, and Open side there, and the Bruins stick it out. Power play goal for Carter Price.
Talk about the play of goalies Jasper Tate and Eric KIJHL and the benefits of the team using both.
The benefits are unbelievable. You know, we've kind of got a 1A, 1B, even if you want to call it A and B. They're both been phenomenal for us since they've been here. So just happy to have those guys. And yeah, it's good to have those guys not have such a workload in the first round, and we'll see what happens. I don't know what the goaltending situation is going to be like in the second round, but both those guys are more than capable of doing the job. Both played as well as you could ever ask. They both did well. Jasper had a shutout. Eric came in and Eric did exceptional as well. So, you know, made the big saves when they needed to, absolutely. And it wasn't like they didn't get a lot of shots. They got good amounts. They saw the puck a lot that game. They were seeing them both games that both guys played. So, no, really happy with how they played. And I think that they're both happy as well.
What do you think your second round matchup with the Beaver Valley Nitehawks will be like?
I think it's going to be one of the most competitive rounds we're going to see throughout the playoffs, no question. They're a great team. They're well coached. They're well structured. They work hard. We have a lot of respect for BV, and we know we're going to get into it this series. So we're going to have to work our bags off. We're going to have to work hard and come out with 4 wins. So we know it's going to be a series, and we know not to take them lightly. So I think we're all excited, though. It'll be our best competition yet.
Just kind of touch on the atmosphere at those first 2 home games, because I understand it was really budding at the Jack Goddard Memorial Arena.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, it's great to have 600 plus fans come out in such tight quarters. It's great. It really drives our team. We love the support of all the people in the community. They've been there all season, most of these people. So it's fantastic to see that we're winning for them, right? It feels like when we win, we're doing it for the community, for the fans. So it's fantastic. It feels amazing to have their support.
This has been quite the turnaround from the program from a few years ago. I mean, this is the 3rd straight season that the team's had a winning record under Coach Dave Niadiak. And in each of these past few seasons, the team has advanced in a round. And so I imagine, obviously, the goal is to get past this round.
So I think the goal this year is cup or bust. I mean, we've been saying that since the spring. You know, back in the spring, we believed with the additions and guys like Ben and Alex Edwards coming back, we believe it more now than ever, right? With the President's Trophy, that kind of confidence, it's just all in our whole group. We have so much belief. We have so much heart. We believe that it's our year. So that's the main goal. So yeah, definitely get past Beaver Valley, win another round, and hopefully more beyond that. We're hoping to get it done this year.
What do you guys like about the group that you have?
I think it comes down to heart. I think it comes down to heart and our will to win. We've got guys with a lot of character, guys that are competitive, guys that care a lot about each other, and we congeal so well as a group. We're so tight. I mean, I look at every guy in that room and it's like one of my closest friends, right? So I feel like we all feel that same way about each other. We're competitive. We work hard. So it's been the best group of guys I've ever been with in a hockey setting. So it's fantastic. It's the best room I've ever been a part of.
That's Carter Price, captain of the Grand Forks Border Bruins. Carter, thanks for joining us on Top Shelf, the KIJHL podcast.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
The Players Spotlight is a presentation of ine+nutrition. Boost your energy naturally with Canada's best-tasting super greens by ine+nutrition. Abundant in over 50 antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals, ine+ super greens will improve your immune and digestive systems, increase your energy, and enhance your mental clarity. You'll feel better overall, almost as though you could tackle any challenge. Shop now at www.ine+nutrition.com and use the code KIJHL10 to get 10% off your order. Up next, we'll talk playoff hockey with a pair of broadcasters that are off to the next round. Ben Phillips from the Beaver Valley Nitehawks and Blake Mills from the Kamloops Storm.
This is Top Shelf, the KIJHL podcast, now available on YouTube.
On Top Shelf, the KIJHL podcast, talking now with Blake Mills from the Kamloops Storm, and I'm also talking with the voice of the Beaver Valley Nitehawks, Ben Phillips. First of all, Blake, talk a little bit about your impressions of the playoffs so far from the Kamloops Storm perspective.
Yeah, I mean, from the Kamloops Storm perspective, I mean, first of all, the one thing to comment on is, 9 straight wins, 5 heading into the playoffs. Really just a incredible change in kind of the whole consistency we had saw all season long. It felt like it was kind of win one game, lose one game, sitting around that 500 mark. And then, able to kind of really beat the brakes off Quinnell was kind of a little bit of a surprise. I thought it was going to be a closer matchup. And then on the other end of the Doug Burks there, I mean, Williams Lake kind of putting together a bigger battle than I think anybody really thought against 100 Mile House, but 100 Mile, of course, kind of able to take and win that one as they kind of should have, 4-2. really exciting so far on that neck of the woods. And then in the Bill Hill holes, and of course, you've got Revelstoke and Princeton winning as they should as well. The Merritt series was great. You see the Sycamoose Eagles do a good job too as well, kind of doing their best to push that one. But two really close series that ended up 4-1, but those games were all pretty close.
Ben, your thoughts on the playoffs in the Kootenay Conference?
As Blake said, a lot of interesting series on their side, and it's the exact same thing on our end. I think the biggest surprise was probably Columbia Valley and how quickly they took care of Fernie with that sweep. I think that was probably our biggest surprise. But outside of that, it was kind of as expected. Grand Forks taking care of business with Calcigar, the Nitehawks taking care of things with the Leafs. Creston, maybe also a surprise, beating up on Kimberley and turning that series on its head after Kimberley won the first two games. So it's been a lot of fun to watch, and now we have some really fun round two matchups.
Let's talk about Kamloops again. Any surprises for you on the way that Kamloops has played of late? You've had great goaltending all season, but Luca D'Amore has really stood out in the playoffs.
Yeah, 7 points in 4 games for him. I think he had 4 goals in those tilts too as well. And Luca D'Amore, he's just come such a long way, right? He's a young guy. He's still in grade 12. I guess coming up and graduating now, but his play is just great, and he does it on both ends, right? So Luca D'Amore, and his shots really come a long way. He's always been getting those opportunities, but you saw it in that one of those Quesnel games. He's be able to pick that short side corner, kind of similar to actually, you see in the NHL all the time, but just he's had those opportunities all year long and has kind of missed a couple of those shots. But now later, as it built on the series, getting more comfortable kind of with the pace of play and in the KI, and he's just really able to kind of rip those home now. And the give and goes he's built with Wyatt Olson. Just the whole structure of the team and the way he's able to be a captain on the back end. And one thing to note too about him is he runs an Instagram account right on the back end for the Storm called Inside the Kamloops Storm. So as a younger guy, really taking on what I see as kind of a leadership role and shows it out on the ice too as well.
So Ben, let's talk about the Beaver Valley Nitehawks a little bit more. Rowan Crows played very well in the playoffs, Hunter Hansen and Connor Stojan. For you, anybody really stand out for the Nitehawks during the first round?
I think the biggest one has to be Rowan Crow. And, I made this comment off the air on our broadcast and with our team of, imagine if we had Rowan Crow last year. He went out early in the playoffs or maybe even been late in the season with a knee injury that ended his season. And just his ability to find corners right now. You look at some of the goals that he scored from near impossible angles. He loves to come down the wing and just rip one short side over the goalie's shoulder. And he's done that a handful of times this year. He's been a big, not necessarily surprise, but just seeing him finally, scoring those goals has been nice. It's the usual suspects that you mentioned there, Hunter Hansen, Connor Stojan leading the way. But I think the big thing for the Nitehawks has just been the ability to get healthy and get bodies back in the lineup, just up and down the lineup defensively. Jack Bodell comes back in Game 3 and makes a huge impact into things defensively for the Nitehawks. Some of the biggest things as of late for the Nitehawks, who since the turn of the year in January have only lost 3 games. And you know what? Funny enough, 2 of them have been to the Border Bruins, so that really sets up an interesting second round.
Blake, the season series with the Wranglers is really one-sided. The Wranglers, 5 wins, 1 loss against Kamloops. Do you think that means absolutely nothing in the playoffs?
I wouldn't say it means nothing. 100 Mile has played a rough physical brand of hockey, and the Storm kind of have had struggles dealing with it. Then Tyson Endall in net, the Storm have had a tough time getting goals past him. I think we've only got the 1 win in 100 Mile there. Kamloops has been in those games, but from, my view from top of that booth, it was a lot of, coming out flat, which was really the state of the whole season, and especially at home. Kamloops really struggled to string wins together at home. I wouldn't say it means nothing, but they've only matched up twice since the ever-changing Kamloops Storm. We made all those moves after Christmas break, revamped the full defensive core. So, I think it does mean something. The regular season always means something. But once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. And I think 100 Mile and the confidence the Storm are playing with now is going to be a big difference maker.
Ben, same question. The Border Bruins were 4-1-1 against Beaver Valley. Does that mean much heading into the divisional finals?
You have to respect your opponent, and you have to respect, what they did through the regular season. I think, you go 4-1-1, they had their way. 3 of those games were 4-2 games, or two of them were 4-2 games here in the stretch that were decided, with that empty net being the extra. Like, the games were very close. And of course the Nitehawks winning the last game of the season in the series with an overtime winner. Does it mean nothing? No. But I think Grand Forks would probably say the same thing at times where you didn't have your full lineup. The Nitehawks, like I mentioned, had plenty of injuries all year and had, defensemen playing as forwards in a lot of these matchups. I think now having as close to a full lineup as they've had since November, it really sets up. And, I don't think the season series is going to be any indication to how this series might end up. It's so hard to call because these teams are so close and so competitive.
We know Ben Phillips' background. Blake, tell me a little bit about your background. This is your first season with the Kamloops Storm. You sound great. Tell me a little bit about your background.
I just got into it. I've always been a huge fan of sports, but of course the career ended very early. Wasn't quite hit with the athletic stick, but always loved all sorts of sports and just watching and talking about them. Really starts as simple as always just kind of thinking you can do it. I actually ran our intramural floor hockey league in high school and used to commentate the games as they would go on live just during lunch hour, and then just sent an email actually to the Kamloops North Paws a few years back and ended up being their color commentator for 2 seasons, and then was able to get this opportunity after the Larry Reed had kind of moved away, and it was just a great opportunity and coming into it. And it's just something you kind of, everybody that's a sports fan, I think, thinks about doing. And, it's just so few of us are lucky enough to get the chance.
I have to do this. I am a sucker for West Coast League baseball. How excited are you about the baseball season coming up?
Yeah, well, I'm really excited about the baseball season coming up. I mean, we had such a great opening year there with Cole Armstrong behind the helm. Last season was pretty tough. But then going forward, we've got a new guy head coach in the team, Riley Jepson, who, was just a few years older than me playing baseball through Kamloops minor baseball. And I mean, he really did well, like one of the few guys from Kamloops to really kind of get up to that pro level. I mean, he's taken the helm of the team, so it's great to have a guy back in there that's more of a local product and had gone to those upper heights. So it should help with our recruiting and everything like that. And I mean, you just love having that quality of baseball in Kamloops. You see it all the way through. I coach a minor, an 11U, just Mosquito team as well. All those guys just get so excited. They're always in there. You get free entry on a couple of those games if you're wearing your jersey, and it's just so good for Kamloops.
Forgive me for this, Blake, but go Night Owls. Okay.
Those Nanaimo bar jerseys are beautiful, though.
Aren't they? Aren't they? Blake, thank you very much for doing this.
Hey, no, thank you a ton for having me there, Mark.
And Ben, also, big thank you for doing this.
Yeah, of course. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, and I always look forward to seeing your name light up on my phone asking for an interview. So, pleasure.
Thank you. This is Top Shelf, the KIJHL podcast, available on Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcast, YouTube, and on the KIJHL.ca website. Our thanks this week to broadcasters Blake Mills, Ben Phillips, and Kevin McKinnon, Border Bruins captain Carter Price, and Thunder Cat alum Harmon Laser-Hume. A big thank you to the good folks at ine+nutrition. Don't forget to use the code KIJHL10 to get a discount. And finally, a stick tap to Flow Hockey, which brings our players closer to their families and friends back home. I'm Mark Berry.
I'm Emanuel Sequeira.
This is Top Shelf, the KIJHL podcast.